Hey, welcome to the Reddit time. What fact is ignored generously? Long story short, let's start. Mob mentality doesn't mean you are right. This needs to be higher. We'll solve 85% of the world's problems. Edit. No! What have I done? For it to be higher, wouldn't a mob of people have to upvote it? Everyone is a huge hypocrite when it suits them, including me. The irony of this statement is that if you are ever in a situation where being a hypocrite would suit you, but you aren't a hypocrite, then you are a hypocrite because you said you would be, but weren't. My brain hurts. Just because it's legally allowed doesn't mean you are not a douchebag for doing it. Example: free speech isn't freedom from consequence. You legally can say, near whatever you want, doesn't mean people won't call you a dick for it. Just because some people are naturally talented doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard. Hard work can beat talent when talent doesn't work hard, as my undergrad advisor was fond of saying. But when talent works hard, it's game over. There's a giant pedo ring in Hollywood going on and has been going on for decades. Also, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Edit. I should also clarify that it isn't just Hollywood, also the rich and powerful in all places. That science can't prove a negative. Shows that vaccines don't give autism. We have never found that they do in many studies done, but you can't have positive proof for something negative. Astronomer here. I'm getting a lot of messages lately about how a comet or asteroid is going to hit us and coronavirus is a cover-up for it. More than the usual conspiracy theories, I think people are bored at home and projecting existential dread on this stuff. These messages always lead to the person saying, but can you prove no asteroid is going to hit us? And I can't do that. None of the known ones do, yes, but one could always come from the direction of the sun like the Russian meteorite a few years ago. I can always only explain about a specific object or how you can't do a government cover-up over an asteroid discovery, etc. But people now obsess over that incredibly tiny chance I can't say it won't happen with 100% absolute certainty. It's frustrating because this is not a thing people should be worried about compared to our very real troubles right now. But you can tell they are worried that I can't say it 100% will never happen. The government is trying to pass an anti-encryption bill that could strip away any and all privacy given to US citizens. Most people over 20 already met a murderer at least once in their lifetime. I dated a murderer before I was even 20, before he became a murderer, of course. Oh, he didn't murder you, did he? Experience is not equal to competence. You shouldn't have a child unless you are emotionally and financially ready and have a stable partner, which means never for most people. That the square of the sum of a and b is not equal to the sum of the squares of a and b. As a geometry teacher, I feel this. My students all learned this last year and then promptly forgot it. Me. You need to multiply it out. Remember FOIL? Student. Me. From last year. Student. Me. Demonstrates. Like this. Student. I have to do that every time? Me. Yes. Forever and always. The rules of math have not changed since last year. Orcas and dolphins aren't happy in those aquatic parks. Baffled that this isn't intuitive or obvious to most people. The majestic and spacious ocean or a tiny tank surrounded by 40 loud creatures. One of the worst things is when they deny obvious proofs that indicate they aren't happy, like the twisted dorsal fin. Depends on the agenda of the people doing the ignoring. People only care about the facts that agree with them. Never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. George Carlin. Great minds think alike, but fools rarely differ. Being rich doesn't mean you are great with money or someone who should be trusted with business decisions. Or smart. People love to assume that. Alcohol is poison. Alcohol is the best poison. Being well known doesn't always make you popular, as you may be well known for pissing yourself in class. This really depends on how you define popular. Frequently encountered is one of the definitions of popular. Also, don't judge me for pissing in class. France didn't stop executing people by guillotine until 1977. And slavery wasn't legally considered a crime against humanity until 2001. Animals are much more brutal than people realize. We only see the cute cuddly side on the internet. Cheetah makes friends with a goat gets more views than Woodhog gets eaten alive by lions and lasts a surprisingly long time while it's happening. Animals will eat you alive if they don't think you are a threat to injury. It's out of survival. Something bigger and better might come along and they won't have eaten anything. No, the leopard didn't kill the animal before eating it out of compassion. It just didn't want to take a hoof to the head while it was having lunch. I watched 3 lionesses hunt a warthog and its piglet up close once. 2 of the lionesses made themselves seen while the third slid behind a small mound and snuck through the grass. The warthog stayed focused on the 2 lions in the open. The hunter got within a few feet and crouched low, ready to strike. Something alerted the warthogs and they took off like a rocket. The lioness, being the queen of the savannah, rolled on her side and started licking her paw. Hugely disappointing. Concentration camps in China are still going on. Oh, and they are supplanting the now imprisoned for thought crimes Uyghur husbands of fathers with single, ethnically Han Chinese men in their own households. They are literally relocating the majority ethnicity to replace and wash out the minority culture and people. You aren't supposed to stick Q-tips in your ears. You can't stop me. He wasn't telling you to stop, he just gave you a Q-tip. Facts aren't opinions. I wish I could upvote this a million times. I'm getting really sick and tired of people who argue 2 points, where one is arguing from evidence-based facts, the other is arguing from a YouTube conspiracy video, and the second tries to take the high road with "you have your opinion, I have mine." No, you fucking window licker. Person A has facts, you have idiocy. You have blinkers for your car so that you can tell other drivers that you are changing lanes. Fun fact, it's the law. And you need to put them on before you start to move lanes. Older doesn't always mean wiser. Wisdom is obtained from what you do with your time, it's not about how much time you've had. Just remember, stupid people get old too. Every single year, cruise ships dump 14 billion pounds of garbage into the oceans. Probably not this year, just saying. We may see the end of that industry altogether if we are lucky. Billboard's idea of thinking this sounds better and better. TikTok is literally Chinese spyware, but at the same time, Gmail and Facebook are pretty much American spyware. This is a much better ignored fact, in my opinion. The importance of getting 7-9 hours of sleep every single night. To add to this, 7-9 hours of sleep is not the same as a 7-9 hour sleep opportunity window. If you are giving yourself a 7-hour sleep opportunity window, you are not getting 7 hours of sleep, probably more like 6. Giving birth to a kid doesn't make you an expert on raising them, nor do they owe you for being born. A lot of people need to realize this. Most people are not very smart, and even the smart ones are dumb sometimes. And dumb ones can get dumber. That just because someone tells you something is a fact doesn't mean that it is. Make sure to do your research. I'll take your word for it. But how else am I going to write my essay on the surge of disinformation? That we all have confirmation bias. In my studies I've found that I do not. Oh wait, I controlled for my confirmation bias. Turns out I have the smallest confirmation bias. No one has a smaller confirmation bias than I do in the entire academia, and people come up to me and tell me I am the most objective researcher and I write papers with the most logical conclusions and most rigorous models. No bias, they have the bias, but I have no bias. My bias level is tremendously non-existent. Fuck me, I read it in his voice. Humans overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what we can achieve in a year. You are not immune to propaganda. Fun word fact. The term propaganda originally referred to a Catholic Church committee for propagating the faith during the Counter-Reformation. This comment was brought to you by Big Etymology. Actually, propaganda comes from when a British person gets a good look at something. Had to give this post to propaganda before I understood it. Thank you for using it in a sentence, haha. Made the pun click. The number of people who die after a war to consequences of war, hunger, disease, etc. are not counted in the statistics. Admitting to a mistake is not a sign of weakness. Bending over backwards to cover it up and pretending like it never happened is. It's in your best interest too. If you don't own your mistakes, others will and may use them against you. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't mean I hate you. And conversely, just because I agree with you doesn't mean I like you. Both of these points are excellent. No, they're not, but I still like you. I'm neutral on this and don't know you well enough to have formed an opinion about you. Human memory is extremely unreliable. We forget important details, we fabricate memories and convince ourselves that they are true. What we do remember is distorted to conform to our biases. When I was 5, my parents surprised my older sister and I with a trip to Disneyland really early in the morning before our flight. For years I had this memory of it happening and being so excited. They videotaped the whole scene, but we had lost the video for years. When we found it, I saw that I was actually asleep the whole time. I had completely made up the memory based on my sister and parents talking about it. Yeah, this is especially crazy to me. You can fabricate memories of talking and thinking about it. Sometimes when you think about things like the long enough, you can forget they aren't real. Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you sharing your valuable time with me today. You can add your points to the list of ignorant facts in the comments down below. Also subscribe to my channel, give me a big thumbs up and see you in the next video.